Hey guys, Mr. Minnick here. I have been slacking really, really bad with our Panther Read, which is not good because it's such a great book. So I figure I might record two videos today. I'm actually recording this one in between my classes. So this will be kind of a short one, and then I might do a longer one a little bit later today. So where we left off in Drums Girls Dangerous Pie, we had our main character, Steven, and he was... making these kind of weird bets in his head, like, okay, if I do this thing this kind of way, then maybe my little brother's cancer will go away. Like, if I flip a coin and it lands on heads, then maybe his cancer will go away. And he makes all these kinds of deals and bets in his head. That's one thing that happens. Also, the thing that happened at the end of this, this chapter that we read before, this part of the chapter, was that he was with his friend Annette, who was playing something on piano, and it was really, really crazy and awesome, and she looked really beautiful. And she's like, well, why don't you try to play the drums along with me? And so he tries it, and he can't play it because it's so crazy. And so she's like, well, here's a CD of it, which goes to show how long ago it was written. Here's a CD of it, right? And I want you to go home and practice it, right? See if you can play it. She kind of challenges him. So he said, I'm not sure what just happened, but I'm sure that something did, right? So I'm going to read a little bit of this chapter as much as I can before I have my next class here in a few minutes, and then I'll do another reading later. So things were happening at home, too. Around the second week of Jeffrey's treatment, I guess word got out among my parents' friends that it was time to acknowledge Jeffrey's illness all of a sudden. All at once, as if somebody had just thrown a switch, phone calls started pouring in. Cards were jamming up our mailbox. A flood of concerned grown-ups started pulling up to our house with bags and baskets of food, flowers, balloons, and toys. I admit that the edible stuff gave me a nice break from eating all those microwave Hot Pockets and being their poster child. But, yeah, the whole scene was kind of bizarre. You can picture it. The well-wisher comes in, we all thank him, or more often, her, as the Tupperware is handed over, then everybody stands around awkwardly, while the visitor tries to find an appropriate thing to say to my parents. But if I'm around, it's weird. They ask me how I am, but I can't actually tell them anything that's going on in 90% of my life, but they really mean, how are you specifically with regard to your brother's health crisis? And if Jeffrey's there, it's the biggest nightmare of all. Half of them try to be cheery no matter what, so they act all loud and hearty, swinging Jeffrey around and telling corny jokes. Meanwhile, I'm standing there mentally shouting at them, "Be gentle, you moron! Don't bruise him! Please step away from the boy!" The other half are solemn no matter what, which is equally horrendous. Because Jeffrey's normally and naturally just such a happy kid, and he wasn't generally downhearted in those early days, despite the illness. Sometimes he had really bad aches, especially in his legs, and he was tired a lot of the time, and the chemotherapy drugs were making him feel pretty rotten physically. But mentally, he was still Jeffrey, the kid who wanted to laugh and play, and maybe watch Nickelodeon when things got too exhausting. And when the frowny people came, they almost wanted to see Jeff be a sad, sick boy to earn that pot roast that they were carrying or whatever. And those visits dampened his spirits. For a while, at least. After a week or so, Jeffrey, though, and I made a walk and made a game of it. As soon as somebody started up that front walk, carrying the obligatory gigantic shopping bag, I would say, okay, Jeff, what do you think? Frowny or cheery? Definitely cheery, I think. We had 3 frownies in a row. Maybe right, little man. We're due for a cheery right about now. She's looking a bit nervous. I'll bet you $1 she's going to be a frowner. Then we'd open the door and smirk at each other throughout the visit, and finally assign the visitor a score after she left. No matter how horrendous the experience had been, I could usually get Jeffrey to laugh by acting like a sports commentator. A tremendous effort by old Mrs. Jacobs from the accounts payable department. She brings an apple pie, but wait a minute, it's store-bought. That's a mandatory deduction, Jeff. We'll have to give her a 5 out of 10 for the baked goods. And in the behavior category, she's definitely cheery, Jeff. I owe you $1, you gambling shark, but she clears her throat repeatedly, a clear sign of discomfort. On the other hand, she did pat your head pretty vigorously. I'm going to have to call that a 7. Ooh, but she smelled kind of funny. Steven, is that points off? Oh, it is another mandatory deduction. Was it a dirt smell or an old people smell? Old people smell. Okay, that's another mandatory deduction. Why don't we call this a 6 overall? Meanwhile, my parents would tell us to be nice if they saw all this, but I got the feeling it kind of amused my dad as much as anything else had, since Jeff's nosebleed. Near the end of Jeffrey's first month of treatment, there was a big dance at school, the first one of my 8th grade year, which is supposed to be some sort of big deal. You can imagine how much I felt like getting down and partying at that point, but of course I had to go. It was on a Friday night, one of the nights when Jeffrey was home, and he had been weak to do anything but watch videos and throw up all day. For about a half an hour before dinner, I tried to get him to play some checkers, but he finally just wiped the pieces off the board and told me to go away. I could believe a lot of things and had been forced to over the course of that month, but getting kicked out of a checker game by my baby brother was pretty tough to swallow. This was the kid who used to toddle over to my bed at 6 o'clock every weekend morning to pull on my blankets so I'd get up and watch cartoons with him. This was the kid who once made me play Hungry Hungry Hippos for an hour straight until I thought my hands were going to fall off from slamming on those dumb little levers to make the hippos' heads move. This was the kid who had spent entire days at a time begging me to play Chutes and Ladders with him, and now he was feeling too sick to play with me. I know this is a selfish reaction, but my thought at the time was, oh great, not even at the dance yet and I'm already getting rejected. What an ego boost for me. I was starting to get nervous about this dance. I went through every possible clothing combination I own, but somehow none of my dozens of black Rock Band t-shirts seemed to match with any of my 3 identical pairs of Old Navy jeans. And I was standing in my room with only my pants on, blasting a different band that I was listening to, trying not to think about how horrendous Jeffrey must be feeling while I was running off to a dance and randomly tossing shirts to and fro when my mom appeared in the doorway. Honey, we're going to have to hurry if you want to get to this dance. Since your father's at that big dinner meeting at work, I have to drive you and take Jeffrey with us. And I don't think your brother's going to be awake much longer. I know, Mom, I just look like a dork master in every shirt that I own. You don't look like a dork master, whatever you said, Stephen. You look like a handsome young man, although you probably want to zip up your fly. Mom! What? Should I not have told you and left it for everybody else at the dance to notice? Mom, would you please let me get dressed? We don't have time for one of your big insecurity scenes here, Stephen. Let me see what you have in your closet. She started opening the closet doors and started thumbing through all the clothes I had hanging there, giving them little motherly comments. This one looks great with your brown eyes. This one makes you look nice and muscular. Mom, this one's too formal. Ew, this one's stained. Why is there a dirty shirt hanging in your closet? Now this one's perfect. Now put it on. Mom, that one's purple. I haven't worn it once since the day that Grandma gave it to me. I'll look like Barney. Oh, Stephen, Barney is purple and green. You will look nothing like him. Plus, this isn't purple, it's eggplant. Sure, Mom. Chicks dig a dude who's sporting the latest eggplant turtleneck styles. I grabbed an old black shirt off the floor, stalked past my mom as I pulled it on, and went downstairs. Jeffrey was on the couch looking miserable, but he still had enough energy to embarrass me in front of my mom. Do you think Renee Albert will dance with you, Stephen? You think she's hot, right? Oh, leave me alone, shrimp boy. Renee Albert has a boyfriend anyway. Will you dance with Annette? She's pretty too, and she knows you're alive. Where does he get this stuff? I don't know, Jeffrey. Usually there's a big line of girls just waiting to dance with me, so it depends on how soon Annette gets there. There's just not a big enough supply of Stephen Alper around to meet the demand. That's a joke, right? Yeah, it's a joke. I'll probably just stand in the corner, try not to be noticed until the decoration committee accidentally packs me into a box at the end of the night. Until the next year, or the New Year's dance comes 2 months from now, and I'll be crammed together with rolls of paper and tissue paper. Jeffrey thought about this for a moment and said, won't they notice the box is too heavy when they go to put you away? Good point, Jeffrey. Stephen, put your brother's shoes on, will you? We have to get moving. They'll never fit me, Mom. Ha ha ha. Very funny, now let's go, she said. It wasn't until we were all in the car, several blocks away from home, that I realized the random shirt I had put on was last year's middle school band concert shirt. Perfect. It was easier than building and carrying a giant sign that said geek on it. But hey, it achieved the exact same effect. When we pulled up to the school, I was pretty distracted, but I did notice that Jeffrey didn't look so great. I came up with a new bargain with God. If you make Jeffrey better, I won't go to this dance. Maybe God knew that right then. Staying out of the dance didn't feel like a big sacrifice to me because he didn't instantly cure my brother. I ruffled Jeffrey's hair, told him to be good, and told him not to play too much WWF Wrestling Live with his fragile mother. Took a deep breath and walked away into my big night. Inside the dance, I found a bunch of my friends standing around in a corner. It suddenly struck me that the two worst social situations in middle school, dances and dodgeball, had a lot in common for guys like me. Go to the gym, stand in a corner, as far away from the action as possible, and try not to be seen. Your eyes scan the room for threats, either flying projectiles that are aimed at your head, or girls aiming at mortifying you by getting you out on the dance floor and making you dance, and you sweat profusely while you're standing still. Also, you're wearing clothing that embarrasses you, and you feel like everybody else is better at this game than you are. And in both situations, you desperately hope that some miracle will occur to give you glory. But you're too scared to attempt to do anything that might actually achieve any recognition at all. Oh yeah, dances and dodgeball, the two Ds of my middle school nightmares. Of course, looking around was kind of fun. Renee Albert was looking incredible in some kind of tightish, shiny skirt thing, and her little court of Supergirls were all dancing together, flipping their hair around and occasionally stopping to do little fix-up things with their sparkly lip gloss. I remember wondering how I could be so awkward about these things, but these girls, raised in the same town as me, with basically the same exact social experiences I had, could just be so cool. Then Annette came bounding over to me. She was wearing jeans and a t-shirt like I was, but somehow the fact that we were at a dance made me too aware that she was female, so I felt weird talking with her. Plus, all my guy friends were standing around smirking. Hi, Steven. Hi, Annette. Did you listen to that CD? Yeah. Did you figure it out? I did. And I have a drum lesson with Mr. Stoll tomorrow. I think I'll bring it along so I can work on it with him. Okay, make sure you do because I have big plans for you. You do? She just smiled and walked away. Perfect, I thought. The girl of my dreams has no idea I'm even in the room, even though I sat behind her in every class since first grade. And Annette has big plans for me. I stood around for a while more, listening to my friend's moronic commentary about how Annette wanted to jump on me and make me her band geek love slave, until my night took the final plunge into horror. My mother walked in. I didn't see her at first, and I guess she didn't spot me, so she had to get to the DJ, get him to stop the music, and announce that Stephen Alper's mother was here to pick him up. Right on the spot, without knowing what exactly was going on, I made God one final offer. Take me. Please don't take Jeffy. Please, Lord, take me instead. And that's where we're going to stop for right now. And I will try to get to the next chapter tonight. Peace out, guys. Keep on watching.